So out of left field, FGO decided to go ahead and drop Super Paul Bunyan on us for the Learning with Manga collaboration event, which actually makes a lot more sense now that I think about it, because somebody on stream, which is a shout out to come peep the stream every weekday over on the Twitch, link down in the description down below, but someone asked me, who do you think is going to be the servant for the Learning with Manga collaboration event? And I was like, well, surely the premium 5 stars, not just a 5-star version of Paul Bunyan. But no, it actually just makes a whole lot of sense if you're going to do a collaboration event with the Learning with Manga series of stuff, that you do Paul Bunyan as the 5-star servant. You finally give her the gold star treatment, and she's pretty insane. I mean, you guys know I'm not the biggest fan of alter egos, but she does the smashy smash, and she does it pretty dang well. And she is filling a niche that we really don't have a really solid modern servant in. And that is that she is going to be a single target Buster alter ego servant. Because the only other single target Buster alter ego that we have is Mecha Ellie-chan, who is a free-to-play servant that you either kinda have her or you don't have her because, well, she's a free-to-play servant, and if you miss the event, you miss the event. But before we move on, today's video is once again sponsored by Buyee, and if you don't know what Buyee is, it's basically a proxy service that allows you to buy Japanese products even though you're over here in America. So if there's some special event going on right now where they're selling a Dokkan figure, a FGO figure, maybe you're a Rider fan like me and you just can't get your hands on some of these Japanese products, Buyee is going to be your way to go to actually get some of this stuff and then they ship it over to you. And if you sign up using my link down in the description down below, this is the killer good part, they actually give you 2,000 yen into your account. And the good thing is, some of these figures aren't all that expensive. Like, you want this banger Jalter figure, well, you've already just knocked out 2,000 yen towards that purchase. Or maybe you want this Skahawk figure, well, you're pretty much able to just go ahead and grab that if you sign up with my link down in the description down below. You're going to get 2,000 yen put into your account if it's a new account, obviously. And yeah, it's just a really good way to get your hands on a lot of those Japanese products that just never come over to the States. And man, I'm currently watching Kamen Rider Revice and I'm not able to get my hands on this one plushie thing. It's very frustrating, but also just a lot of figures that just never come over to the States. Like, they never bring them over, or we get like exclusive versions of different figures over in Japan that just never come over here. So it's a really good way to get your hands on a lot of that good stuff. And, you know, thank you once again, Buyee, for sponsoring this video. They do the Lord's work out there and helping us get these figurines and just Japanese goodies. Now, moving on to our regularly scheduled programming, let's go ahead and just start off by talking about Super Bunyan's hits, which there's not a whole lot of just insane nuance to this servant. She is a big smashy smash Buster servant and is rocking a triple Buster deck, 3 hits on the Buster cards, 3 hits on the 1 arts card, which is really solid because her NP gain is actually really high at 0.86%, meaning that if you can get a crit on that arts card, you're going to be refunding a metric butt ton of your NP back. Her quick card's also not bad with 4 hits on it, with a star jetting stat of 9.9%. Again, if you can get crits on that as well, especially with an arts lead, you can get a decent bit of your NP back, although Paul Bunyan does have some stuff to help her when it comes to refunding her NP. Now, do also keep in mind she has a pretty interesting passive where she's able to bonk people and then give them the like trait. And this is going to be very important when you go over to her NP, because her NP actually gets a lot of extra damage depending on how many times you've hit an opponent before hitting with the NP. So just keep that one in mind. But moving on to her first skill, this is just like every Buster servant's wet dream of a skill, because this is just some insane charisma. Well, technically, because she gives herself a 30% attack buff for 3 turns, and then she gives the entire party a 20% Buster buff for 3 turns, all on a 6-turn cooldown. And this is pretty insane because if you have, like, say, I don't know, someone like Gilgamesh, who's already buffing the entire party's attack, then you have Bunyan here as well, who's buffing the entire party's Buster performance, you just buffed everybody's attack and Buster performance by 21 and 20% respectively. Because if don't forget, Gilgamesh got that 21% charisma, you feel me? But that just already leads to very insane levels of buffing, right? Because it's so common for DPS servants to go ahead and have a charisma that if you just smack Bunyan in there, not only is she getting even more attack But then she's pretty much just double buffing everybody because you have the one servant with their charisma and then her with her buster buff. Things could get really insane very, very quickly. And then let's also not mention that this is just insanely good for her herself, because that 30% attack buff is multiplying into that 20% buster buff to give her insane amounts of damage. I mean, it would explain why she's already the second highest damaging alter ego right behind Melt, because this first skill is absolutely nutty. Then you move into the second skill. This one is also really insane. It gives her a 30% battery. And then what have I been saying about the buster meta? That for some reason they all just overcharge each other's NPs, because yeah, over here she just overcharges the entire party's NP by 1 for 1 turn on a 6-turn cooldown. So not only is she getting a 30% battery to help her be a bit more efficient when it comes to firing her NP, but now if you're using her with Morgan or Himiko or just whatever buster composition, you're just going to have a whole bunch of people just throwing around overcharges to everybody. And again, you're just going to be starting off at like overcharge level 4 when you're using her with like Okita Alter, Himiko, Morgan, any of these servants that can like overcharge themselves by a few stages, or they give the entire party stages of overcharge. Things just get really out of hand very quickly. It's making the buster composition for teams really nutty because, again, when you think about it, she's already really insane because she gives the entire party that 20% buster buff that synergizes really well with literally any servant that is also going to have a charisma to then pretty much double buff the entire party. Then she's giving everybody overcharge, which is pretty insane as well. And then if we move her to her third skill, they were just like, screw it, man. Just give her a little bit of utility to the entire party. Why not? She's just gonna seal the entire enemy party's NP, give the entire party star weight on their buster cards, and then she's also gonna go ahead and lower the enemy party's critical rate, which is really, really useful in trying to make sure that you don't actually get popped. It's one of those effects a servant can have that's still very, very good because you obviously don't want to get crit to death, but it's not like the most exciting. But it's good that she put it on her support skill, because now it's like, you're not going to NP my entire party, you're not going to blast them with anything, you're not going to blast us with crits, but instead we're going to blast you with some pretty hard buster cards. And so overall, it just makes Bunyan a very well-rounded, very strong hyper DPS servant. And then even when you transition to looking at her NP, it's just a giant big beat stick NP, right? It's attacking one enemy on overcharge, it's lowering their defense by 10 to 30%, although because of her second skill that's starting off at 15%. And then she's just getting extra damage depending on how many of the like stacks that are on the opponent, which I mentioned on her passives, is basically something she has that just whenever she attacks an enemy or something, she's going to go ahead and hit them with that like status. And so it's pretty insane because you look at like all these other servants that are dependent on getting special damage mods and whatnot, but Bunyan over here is just like, nope, I just kind of do my attacks normally. I get the like statuses for just merely existing, and then I can start stacking up to getting a lot of damage. And the really good thing is that I believe I just actually misspoke. She actually gives the statuses to herself, right? Which is actually better than putting it on the opponent, because if you put it on the opponent, they might be able to resist it with like some debuff immunity or something. But because she puts it on herself, it means the only way she wouldn't be able to give the buff to herself would be if she had like some buff block or something on herself, which is a bit more rare for an enemy to hit you with. The thing that I actually do find funny though, you know, it's just kind of like Team Melt to Lilith over here, is that Bunyan has to start getting to like 6-7 like statuses stacked up before she actually starts to eclipse Melt in terms of damage. So, you know, if you have Melt to Lilith, she's still pretty good in the current meta. But yeah, should you summon for Bunyan if you're on the JP version of the game? I definitely think she's worth going for. She's a giant big Bingus beat stick that's going to pretty much just step on everything in her path. Now, for me personally, I'm probably going to hold out a little bit and see if maybe there's like a part 2 banner coming out, or maybe there's something a little more broken coming around the corner, because Bunyan's good. I don't think she's broken though. That's kind of my consensus. Like, upon initial viewing, I'm looking at this servant, I'm like, she's probably like an A+, or like just a solid A ranked servant. Like, she's just really, really good. But is she broken? I don't think she's quite broken. She's missing a few things that are kind of key to her being just an extraordinary DPS. Like, her own crit buff, for example, could be really good. Like, if we could get her something like that, that would be really nice. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. You guys have yourselves a nice day. Peep the Bayou link in the description down below. and I'm gone. Peace late, guys.